Sorry, everyone. We had a few technical difficulties. We made some upgrades over the between episodes, so we're trying to work all the kinks out of it. So,
Happens.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So, we were talking about the Birmingham sports update. Um, like I said, the Birmingham squadron just completed a four-game win streak, including the who just wandered a series with the Rio Grande Valley Vipers. However, uh, they beat Memphis, Osceola, and just minutes ago, Rip City in Orlando, where the defense wound up keeping the game close, and the 3 pointers started coming in, and they wound up winning in Orlando at the showcase, 113 to 107, which actually they should have been in the showcase because there was actually a four-way tie in the South, but with all the tiebreakers, they wound up being last of the four-way tie. So it's crazy. So,
Hmm.
like I said in earlier, we had some major news earlier about the merger. So that was exciting news. To add to it, the Stallions also acquired wide receiver Gary Jennings from West Virginia,
Hmm.
cornerback Mark Milton. Uh, they were all signed on the 6th, while Darian Daniels and Brian Mill were both released. And tied in Chris Pierce Jr. ended his contract to sign with the Carolina Panthers of the NFL. So,
That's fair. That's
yeah.
that's definitely fair.
Um, in other Stallions news, the Stallions did participate in the Sugar Plunge shop in purchasing toys to donate to the Children's of Alabama downtown. Uh, the star running back Bo Scarborough, Stanley, the mascot, and Stallions cheerleaders were all on hand, along with our guest from last week, Blake Muir and the Horsemen. So it was kind of a nice way of getting the Christmas season going with them donating to those kids there.
Always love to see it.
hmm I mean, Birmingham teams have been always been involved heavily with the community, so um, that was just another big thing to see.
Totally.
Also, major news out of the USL, the United Soccer League. The Birmingham Legion will once again host the Atlanta United from the uh, MLS. So they were actually the first game that was ever played at Protective Stadium. So it was nice to
Nice.
see, it's nice to see them coming back to Birmingham to take on the hometown Legion. And the that's going to conclude the uh, Birmingham Sports Brief presented by uh, Fanatics. Uh, they have Birmingham Barons and Birmingham Squadron gear. So make
Hmm.
sure you head to Fanatics in the link in the description and check it out.
Nice.
So we're gonna try something new called the Stable Roundtable, where
Nice.
we're gonna get our guests to open up a little bit. And as we mentioned earlier, we're celebrating 5 years of Shotgun Sports and the completion of your podcast there, Scout. The Elks Herd. The Elks Call, sorry.
Thanks, man. Yeah, no. Excited. Very, very excited.
Absolutely. And we're going to call it the stable round table because we're going to let the audience join in on the chat. So if they have any questions or want to add to the conversation, they can in the chat.
It's great.
So first things first, you mentioned earlier, but go ahead and refresh us about how things got started with the Shotgun Sports.
Yeah, so Shotgun Sports, once again, we were making memes and we were making all sorts of content. And we decided one day that we were going to make, we were going to make a meme page or we were going to make a bunch of pages. But I guess where I can expand on this is when people create a sports page, they want to become something. They want to become the next Barstool or a Nation Network or let's say fan-sided. When people build these things, they really want to become something. So for us, we wanted to be like a Barstool Sports. So we all came together. We made a bunch of pages. You came on board. And we also didn't do this just by dealing with, let's say, NFL or MLB or some of the bigger leagues. We actually started, and like I said earlier, the AAF, the American Alliance of Football. And starting there really found us the hardcore fans and people that really love football a lot more than just an NFL team. And you yourself, you are one of those people. Myself, I like the CFL a little bit more than the NFL. So finding those like-minded people was really, really challenging. But once again, here we are. You've been a major part of Shotgun Sports as well. And we've lost our pages. We've lost all of our pages once before. We had somebody delete, 30 to 40 to 50,000 followers across 6 pages or 5 pages or whatever. And I think we kept one page out of that original mess. And that's actually Shotgun Sports, the court side, which you may be dabbling in here soon enough if things go well. But
Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. I mean, we'll see, right? Nothing's
We'll see.
We'll see. We got to deal with the tangibles. But I mean, going from just making memes and content, and now we have a website where we're producing articles. We're covering major events in person. You actually covered the Birmingham Stallions season from the sidelines. So it's really cool to see how it's evolved. But yeah, the beginnings, December 31st, 2018. And we haven't looked back since. And we're officially going to be on our 5 years as of, 10 to 15 days from now. So it's very, very exciting.
So tell me a little bit about how you got it evolved into what it is today. How we
got here, and it's a little bit more than just memes, right? How did we get out of just doing memes, and how did we find this new direction? So very good question. It has a lot to do with us losing our pages. The other co-founder of Shotgun Sports, Alex, he was no longer interested in dealing with the brand or making memes or making it bigger or doing anything with it. So he actually handed me the keys and said, hey, you can have creative control and you can do whatever you want with Shotgun Sports as long as it's, not a bad representative of what we do. And so he basically handed over the keys, and I got back into making memes, and I still wanted to do something bigger, but the real opportunity was when the Edmonton Elks were looking for, of the CFL, the Canadian Football League, the Edmonton Elks were looking for influencers or people to kind of help their brand through obviously losing season after losing season. And we put our hands up and said, hey, we make memes and stuff, but what if we make this bigger? What if we make a fan hub? What if we make like a fan page for fans to all kind of talk around and talk in, and more than a Facebook group, but like a page that also makes a lot of content for Elks fans. So we somehow got the green light from the Edmonton Elks to go ahead and make a fan hub. And we did that, and Kathy and I were the ones who spearheaded that campaign. And over the last 2 years, we have now snowballed this to the point where we have a podcast, we are doing articles. It's a lot more than just memes. And we still put out memes on Mondays. We still do that kind of content, but now it's memes are great content and great entertainment and everything else, but there's not much substance to it. So now we're a full fan hub that can even take our own media photographs as well. So yeah, I mean, somehow we got into that, and we're trying to replicate that model. And hey, you have everything to do with Stallion Stampede. We haven't really talked to you much about it other than to give the green light and to give you some advice. But now the Elks herd has kind of started the Stallion Stampede, and now you get to do a podcast yourself, which is amazing. And once again, very stoked to be on this show today. But it's also very exciting because once again, we're going to be celebrating this 5-year here right away. So this is partially with everything that you've done here, Ryan, at Shotgun. You've been a massive part of the team, and we wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you. So thank you very much for sticking with us and for being a massive part of the journey on this.
I appreciate you, Scout, because it's I do it because it's fun, and because it's brings more attention to the leagues. And I know that you guys have dealt with like issues with fans not being in the stands before.
Yeah.
In the Elks. So I know that's one of the biggest problems here in Birmingham. So, and the problem with that is the demographic here in Birmingham is all collegiate sports. Mm-hmm. So the major league, like the professional sports, don't get the credit that they're due. So it's pretty, especially in like the media, like news and stuff like that. So it's kind of difficult to get the word out about how the teams are doing, how Birmingham Barons are doing. Are they going to make the Southern League playoffs this year? I mean, it's like you don't get that kind of news. Yeah, you've got talk radio here, but even the talk radio is still focused on collegiate sports.
Mm-hmm.
Because collegiate sports is always going to be king here in Alabama.
For obvious reasons, but I think what's also interesting about that too is because you don't have any of the major leagues in your market or in your area. You have the biggest league is college football, like you said. The SEC is right around the corner from you there. So the pro sports people aren't as enthusiastic or as excited or as interested just because it's not the MLB or the NFL or anything like that yet. You know, people will definitely go to the NASCAR race that you guys have once a year or whenever it is, right?
I mean, even that barely gets attention the 2 weeks of the year that they're in Talladega. So that's it. I mean,
dang. Like
I said, it's primarily back years ago when the Alabama boys, the Allisons and Red Farmer and all were still racing, yeah. But now it's like I think the only Alabama native that's racing in NASCAR right now is I can't think of his name. But there's only one Alabama native that's racing right now, so it's like
that's still pretty crazy.
And it's insane. All right, moving on. What made you decide to start the podcast, the X call?
The Elks Call podcast. So there's actually a really big story on this. Here in Edmonton, much like, you guys in the USA have ESPN, and then you also have ESPN Talk Radio. Up here, we have TSN, the sports network, or some people like to joke and call it Toronto Sports Network because for whatever reason, Toronto teams always get talked about on there. But so TSN had a radio station here in Edmonton called TSN 1260. What ended up happening is one day I woke up after working a really long night shift or whatever. I woke up, I checked my phone, and X, Twitter at the time, X was blowing up because TSN 1260 was shut down. Very popular hosts, very successful radio platform. All of their shows were very popular. At night, sure, you get ESPN or whatever, but there could also be a Blue Jays game on there or many different games. So it was all of a sudden, it was a sudden emptiness that Edmonton sports fans felt. Every Edmonton sports fan that listened to TSN 1260 knew exactly what they lost. And shout out to 630 Ched and the guys over there. They do great, but TSN 1260 was the only real Edmonton sports talk all day long in your radio. You turn your key and you got it right there. So people felt extremely hurt over it. It was a massive deal in Edmonton. So Kathy and I looked at it, and we had been planning a podcast for, a year before that. We had been planning this podcast for a while. The Elks Call name, that was an idea that we had for a year. The Turf District podcast is the other podcast crew here in Edmonton that focuses on Edmonton Elks. So we talked to them a year in advance. We had this set up for quite a while. And once TSN 1260 shut down, Kathy and I knew that we had to be a part of this and to get sports talk on the airwaves back in Edmonton once again. And that's exactly what we did. So we went ahead and did that. At around the same time we launched our podcast, the guys from TSN 1260, or at least a big chunk of them, ended up creating Edmonton Sports Talk. So interestingly enough, our podcast went on the air. We were able to have those guys on, help them promote a little bit. In turn, our podcast is The Elks Call is now on Edmonton Sports Talk on Friday nights, 8 p.m. Mountain. So beautiful story about how something went really bad, but in the end, it actually ended up being really good for everybody involved. So it was just the right time. And now we just completed 24 to 25 episodes with a holiday special coming up.
Wow. That is insane. The story of Shotgun Sports has been a roller coaster, but it's like always, even when we overcome the obstacles, we always get better and things get major. So,
Exactly.
Even
tonight, sorry to cut you off, but even tonight with this podcast, right? Things aren't always perfect for anybody. And sure, we had a little bit of technical difficulty, but as if both you and I aren't going to learn from this. And hey, man, we don't get any better if we just do good things all the time or do things extraordinarily all the time. No, that doesn't happen. That's not realistic. But what is realistic is having issues during a podcast, or making a meme that flunks, or writing an article that people don't like, and from there you adjust and you grow. And Shotgun Sports, like you said, with after losing all of those pages, we lost really bad momentum. It's been an absolute roller coaster, but from all of that stuff happening, once again, here we are today, and we get to have this conversation on your podcast. So massive, man.
Yes. And like I said, we're still trying to work the kinks out of the upgrades we made over the past couple weeks. So it's definitely for the better. So being a fan of the Elks, like I said earlier, the attendance issues. What do you think has been affected to fix any of the issues that y'all had? Or what do you think could be done?
Well, see, here in Edmonton, we do have an issue with the community ownership model. Unfortunately, you don't have an owner that's at the top. You have a board of directors and then a president under the board, and then it kind of goes down from there. So we don't have an owner that can come in and say, hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's fix this, let's fix that. So what we have to do here is try to reinvent the wheel, which is your fan experience at a football game, because it's usually the same. You got a mini concert, cheer on defense, make some noise, cheerleaders. The football games are a very, very standard thing. There's not too much you can do to spruce other than have sweet contests, have sweet halftime shows, which we haven't had. We had Swifties contest last year. That was really, really helpful. But one of the biggest fixes that we can do is get the college kids more involved. The Edmonton Elks managed to pull off a sweet campus class last year, which had really good prices for college kids. I think it was like $15 tickets, cheap booze, cheap hot dogs, whatever. And they were able to get an extra 3,000 people in, which was college kids. They had an extra 3,000 that made it in and went to the game. Now, with next year, they're going to be shutting down the upper bowl of Commonwealth Stadium, which seats around 25,000. Lower bowl is around 30,000. So the bulk of your attendance is still going to be down below. And what they're doing with this is they're closing this upper bowl in hopes that the fans are going to have a better experience down in the lower bowl, all squeezed together, all cheering together, and that's going to make a better game atmosphere. I don't think that that's necessarily it. I think winning is the biggest factor in your attendance. If your team is winning, we can take a look at the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They sold out their last 5 games. They sold them all out at like a 33 to 35K capacity or whatever. It's between 30 and 40, but IG Field was absolutely packed. We're talking about a team that is a Grey Cup contender and has been for the last 4 years, had a dynasty on the line, once again fell that short. That's okay with me. Doesn't hurt any of the Double E's records, but realistically, we can't really look at anything else other than winning. In 2015, when the Edmonton Elks Eskimos then were in their Grey Cup contending season, the attendance for the Labor Day Classic was like 41 to 44,000, and then same deal for the Western semifinal. The Western semi was also at a 40K plus attendance. So, in my opinion, I think all we need to do is win a 22 home losing streak. You can't lose 22 games at home in a row across 4 years. You're going to lose fans in that circumstance. So it's just a matter of winning for this team. And then once again, do more of the college stuff, do a little bit more of the grassroots, try to get more kids and younger people into the building.
And I got to say, also closing up off the upper bowl could also bring more. It'll concentrate the fans into one area. Also, that will help put a better product on television.
Totally.
So, whenever they do the broadcast or whatever, that'll help with the. I know that with the USFL, they closed the end zones off for a while because that way the fans would be concentrated in one area, and they really only showed one side of the stadium. So that really made a better product for television.
Well, and that's once again another factor in that, right? They don't want to see all the empty stands on TV. They want it to look full. So how do you do that? You close off the upper bowl.
All right, lastly, what can we expect from Season 2 of the Elks Call?
Ooh, Season 2 of the Elks Call. It's going to be big. So like I said, we have a holiday special coming up on the 27th, which is not a part of any season. We're going to do a little giveaway. we have one of our good friends, one of our contributors at shotgunsportsnetwork.ca, Len. He'll be giving us some tickets to give away. So, and his friend is actually in the band. So that's really cool. But season 2 of the Elks Call, I can tell you that we have around 3 to 4 guests that are already confirmed. We have potential players. Potentially, we're going to have some players on the show. More importantly, we have some alumni coming on the show in 2024. So that's going to be sweet. We may not dig into too many organization members, but you're going to see players. You're going to see alumni members, which is going to be a lot bigger. One of our favorite guests was Dave Jameson, who used to work for the team. He's probably going to be back on. A couple of our guests from 2023, they're going to be on as well. But expect a show with a lot more character, because when we started up the Elks Call, it's, you kind of get the jitters. You don't know what direction you're going. You don't really have much character for yourself. You don't really know what to do. It's like Will Ferrell in Talladega Nights. I don't know what to do with my hands, right? So it was kind of like that moment for like the first 5 to 10 episodes, and you're probably going to experience a bit of this as well. But 2024, we're going to be coming in with an improved interface. We're going to have some different graphics in there. More affiliates. That's going to be a huge one. Very, very excited to talk about the affiliates that we'll be working with in 2024. Obviously, we're going to keep that a secret for now. But, and then, yeah, we're going to be looking for a sponsor or two to jump on board as well. Our show usually runs about an hour, so trying to keep it to the hour mark. But when the conversation is good, we're not going to tell anybody to shut up. So
I feel you on that one. But, I appreciate having you coming on, man, and thanks for trying to help us through the technical issues. I think we wound up resolving.
Nice.
So,
no, hey, thank you so much for having me on. Once again, big shout out to Kathy in the background with the IT help here. But Ryan, awesome podcast. So excited to see the rest of the season for Off the Reins. I'll be tuning in every Tuesday night.
Yeah. We, like I said, we're not going to have another one until after the first of the year. So, we will definitely keep everyone posted. But, I want to thank everyone for watching across Facebook, YouTube, and X, or however you're seeing it. We've got multiple ways of seeing it or hearing it. So, this was Scout Natick, and I'm Ryan Messer, and I wish everyone happy holidays, and see you after the first of the year. Good night.
Happy holidays, everybody. Cheers.